Greetings, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of Creative Chats. Here we have Wes Chamberlain on the show.
Hiya.
Wes, introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Wes Chamberlain. I'm 16. I'm a solo artist from Devon. I've just released a single, I Didn't Laugh, and I've got an EP out on August 1st.
Nice stuff. Awesome. So, yeah, you released your single 27th of June.
Yeah,
So it's been out how many days now?
6 days.
6 days. 6
Yeah.
days. How's it going?
Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah. On the first day, I got a lot more streams than I expected, but then it just kind of leveled out a bit, which is cool. Yeah, I'm cool with that because
Yeah,
everything
definitely.
takes time and stuff. So I was very pleased with the amount of streams I got on the first day, but I didn't expect it to last for long. But it is what it is.
That's really good, though. I mean, you looked as though you were pushing it a lot and that your sort of advertising of it went really well.
Yeah, I'd spoken to a few people, and I just kind of thought, well, just milk the advertising as much as you can and try and get the support out of the people around you as much as you can, because it's best to ask for it, than to not.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. You know, they always say that your friends and family are your first fans as a
Yeah,
musician. Dragging them to you got to make sure you drag them all to your gigs, otherwise,
yeah,
what's the point
yeah,
in
yeah,
having them?
yeah. Because it's important to keep them around you because they're the people who can spread the message for you, and you never know what links they'll have or what links their friends will have. So it's really important to kind of really even if they don't really want to, just kind of nudge them along, just make sure that you can kind of get the best result out of it.
Yeah, I know. It's quite surprising sometimes how small the music world is when you realize
Oh
that
yeah, yeah,
everyone knows everyone.
yeah.
Especially, I mean, because of course you are from Devon as well. Whereabouts from Devon are you?
I'm in the Teambridge area, like Newton Abbot.
Nice, not too far away from me then. I'm currently in Brixham,
Oh
living
right,
with
yeah,
my dad, um, which I normally go between Brixham and Paignton, depending on whether I live with
yeah.
whichever parent. And when I'm not, I'm down in Falmouth studying. So,
Nice, yeah.
but yeah, yeah, it's nice. How are you finding it around Teambridge at the moment,
um
music-wise? I guess.
Teambridge is growing a lot with music. I
Mm,
think. I think I came into Teambridge music at the right time because it really did start to grow this year. By the looks of it, Powderham Live had their biggest year they've ever had.
mm.
Then there's also just been some awesome opportunities surrounding charity work and other gigs. And yeah, I'm very grateful for the community that I kind of came into, really.
That's really cool. And I mean, I guess you're quite young and you've already got quite a good momentum on already for your
Yeah, I
music.
mean, people already knew, like people local already knew about me a little bit because I've done stuff before. Not really as Wes, but I've done not. I haven't done like gigs at like Powderham Live or anything like that, but like I've done things around. So people in Newton Abbot will know me. A few people in Teignmouth will know me, and then in my village, people will know me as well.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, it's you do have quite a sort of it might be like sort of Brixham area where there's a big sort of local community
Yeah, yeah.
in this sort of town, which is nice. It can feel sometimes excluded from the outside world sometimes.
Mm.
I think last episode we were talking about some like more political topics, and we were saying how like being in a small little community, there's a big disconnect between here and what's happening elsewhere in
Yeah,
the world. I kind of found that when I moved down to Falmouth because I was introduced to bands that almost all of my peers in groups knew I'd never
yeah,
heard of, because those sort of bands, you just don't listen to them in these sorts of
yeah,
areas, which is it's really interesting.
yeah. I think especially the Southwest, um, in terms of feeling it, you feel very separated from the rest of the world.
Mm.
Because not exactly much comes from the Southwest. A lot of fish comes from here, but not exactly music and stuff like that.
Yeah, Yeah, Brixham's one of the biggest fishing ports in England, I think.
Yeah,
And yeah, a lot of fish.
yeah,
A lot of fish. A lot of fish and Portishead
yeah.
and Muse. There's a
That's
lot of
true. That's one of the best things to come of it was Muse, I think.
Muse is fantastic, yeah.
But I think the weird thing is it didn't actually draw much attention to Devon. Like people weren't exactly that interested of where they were from as such. They were just interested in their
No.
music, which I think is kind of expected, but also it's just kind of like a sad flaw in it all. Is the fact that we have to
It is,
really work hard to get noticed. Really.
yeah, it's a shame. I think some artists um involve more of sort of where they're from into their music a little bit
Yeah.
more. And I think certain artists will like specifically sing in their native tongue, sing,
Yeah.
about things that are specific to certain areas. I mean, you get that a lot with bands from like Manchester and Liverpool and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think with Muse, I think that was less their thing. Their music was less about.
Yeah.
I think it was less about them specifically and more about creating a sort of very weird and experimental identity
Yeah.
that
It
became
was.
Muse.
Yeah. And like you see people like the Proclaimers who are very proud of like their Scottish identity and stuff like that. Um, and you see like it's part of like it's a niche sort of thing, but it caught on because it was quite powerful the way they
Mm,
did it. And it's like if you're gonna do that, it's very you're kind of limiting yourself. But if it's what you want to do, I mean, it's your passion to sing like that, then you gotta go and do it because otherwise you're not gonna be happy
absolutely.
with what you're gonna do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
On the subject of being happy, and
Yeah.
I guess one thing that when you are happy, you tend to laugh a lot, but apparently you don't do that a lot. So yeah, explain. So the song, I quite like the. I mean, of course, the song starts with just this crazy. If you haven't listened to the song, it'll be linked in the description of this video. So yeah, Wes Chamberlain has just released the song "I Didn't Laugh." Um, so what was the inspiration behind that? Is that quite a personal song to you, or is that
uh, yeah. I would say it's definitely a very personal song because it involves a lot of factors about me. Kind of, it was a way for me to kind of tell people that I'm not finding this funny because at the time it was like friends, family, like lots of people were making sarcastic comments which weren't exactly sarcastic. They were just downright aggressive.
mm,
And even if they were jokingly aggressive, it was like, okay, well, I'm still not finding this funny. And if you told them I'm not finding this funny, they'd be like, well, deal with it.
it's just banter in it, mate?
Yeah, and
Kind of
it's like,
thing.
yeah, but it's not banter to me. It's like an actual thing where I'm actually quite hurt by what you're saying.
Mm,
And I guess I could only express that for a song. And there's a lot of different ways I Didn't Laugh was going. I wrote it a few times. And it wasn't always called I Didn't Laugh. I can't even remember what it could have been called. Oh, there was one which was No Ha-Has Here, but that's not exactly the
no
same.
ha-has here.
Yeah,
I think I didn't. Yeah, I didn't
yeah,
laugh.
yeah,
Imagine saying that. It's like, what song are you listening to? No ha-has here. Wait,
yeah.
what? What? No, no
Pardon?
ha. What? What?
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't exactly roll off the tongue.
Quite. So I
Um,
didn't laugh. Is a good title, and I think the I love the artwork for it as well.
yeah. So that was actually all just a photo, basically.
Okay.
So I got spray paint, and it will because we're making a music video at the moment for it.
Ooh, very
Um, it
nice.
won't exactly be the greatest quality, but I kind of like that it's a bit rough around the edges. I don't know what it
Mm,
is. I quite like the idea of it being like that. Because it's kind of like a rough around the edges sort of song.
mm,
In terms of like, okay, well, this is not the most pleasant of topics. It's actually quite big deal to me.
Quite a big deal, yeah.
Um, but yeah, I got an old sheet, and then I got like loads of spray paint. I can actually get the sheet now actually quickly.
Oh, yeah, go for
Yeah,
it.
and I just I got like a template, and I just sprayed through the template basically. It was awesome.
That's
Hang on, I'll
cool.
go grab it. Ooh.
We'll stick some like interlude music here while you go and get it. Or actually, we'll stick a clip of your song here while we're getting it. They're getting a great preview of the song here. Don't worry. Hope you guys are enjoying this incredible preview of I Didn't Laugh by Wes Chamberlain.
Yeah. So I don't know how well you can hear me right now. I mean, it might be a little bit quieter, but this is
Oh, wow.
I Didn't Laugh sheet.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So it goes quite far out, and so I pretty much just did a lot of weird things in front of it. So yeah, I'm quite proud of that. I don't think I'm going to be getting rid of it.
No, I'd keep that.
Yeah.
You could almost, how you have the banners behind the stage. You have
Yeah,
that
yeah.
behind the stage. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah. I think actually that would be a really fun idea.
That would be, yeah. I like that a lot. So you talk about, so the song, I guess, main sort of song could reflect on the effect that sarcasm and that thing has on people's mental health.
Yeah.
And I know before we were talking, or before coming onto the show, we were talking that mental health was a big deal to you.
Yeah.
How do you think, what do you think people can take from the song in terms of if they are struggling with mental health?
What I don't know if you can really take it from the song, because the song
Okay.
is itself is kind of like it's addressing people. So it's not like it's not exactly a song telling people you should go get help or anything like that.
Yeah.
But what I will say is that people should definitely take advantage of everything around them, because I know there's a lot of people who dismiss a lot of the help that we can get throughout the NHS and stuff, especially for children and adolescents with CAMs and stuff like that. There is a lot of help available, and as much as sometimes it may not be the greatest help you can get, it's still help, and
Absolutely.
some help is better than no help. And if I could take anything from the song to like suggest to people, is kind of to, if you can, and obviously for some people it is very terrifying, have a bit of gumption and just tell the people that what they're doing is wrong. If they're not listening, like they did with me, you can make a song about it. You can do whatever you want about it, but do not do something aggressive or downright stupid, which is going to get you in trouble and make you look like the worst person.
That's yeah, I agree with that. That's very, very good advice.
Yeah, because there's a lot of aggression in today's society anyway. Like, our world is full of aggression politically and socially, and I think we need to just stop being so aggressive to each other, and we just need to kind of sit down and talk, because at the moment we stop talking, we start arguing, and that's when it goes out of control. And that's when people use their hands, and it's not a nice and pleasant thing to do at all. And so I sang about it instead of hitting something, because it just made more sense to me.
That's brilliant. Yeah, and you ended up with a really good song.
Thank you very much.
Or even EP. Actually, we yet to hear the EP. Is the EP along the same sort of lines, or is it
the EP? So I Didn't Laugh is something that actually is kind of a theme throughout a lot of my life, but in that case, it was addressing things that people were doing, which wasn't exactly that addressing the things that people were doing other times, but it's universal to that stuff as well.
Mm.
So I'm thinking of doing something which is trying to set up some sort of like local hashtag, which is called my arse to that.
Might
And
ask
it's,
that.
yeah, which is just saying whatever height, weight, race, disability, hair color, anything like that, anything that differentiates you from anyone else. If someone says you can't do something because of that or discriminates you because of that, my ass to that. Because I just think it's all like so stupid that people mock you for that, and I had a lot of that throughout my life. I'm
Mm.
still not at where I need to be, but my weight used to be really bad, and used to get pretty badly mocked for that. I've always been tall. I've always been like excessively tall, so I've always been mocked for that. Yeah, and people take the mick for many reasons, like your hobbies, what you
Mm.
like, how you dress, and it's like that and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, but I could easily take the mick out of you, but I don't. Like,
Yeah.
to me, what you wear isn't normal. To me, what I wear is the normal because it's normality is a subjective thing. It's subjective per person, and people don't understand that. It's my normal would be to be playing music. Um,
Yeah.
and if I wasn't playing music, I wouldn't feel normal.
Mm.
Um, but for someone else, it would be to go and play football in the park with mates,
Mm.
or go on a really long walk. But that's just not me. I'm very much more focused on just doing my music and stuff like that. And so the song was very much focused on being like, whoa, stop. That's like, you're judging me for something that I do, which is just my life. It's not yours. So
Mm.
what gives you the right to take that from me?
Absolutely, yeah. I think there is a big problem. I think that a big mentality at school is that, and I think that is a big problem in schools in general, because I know it affects so many people. The sort of, being judged and being picked on while in school, and it has major effects on people afterwards. I know people who are 23, 24 years old, and they still suffer with self-confidence because of things people said back then. It can have a really long effect on some
Yeah.
people, um, which is not good. So I think the point that you're making, the idea that it's normal to you but not to them, but you shouldn't make fun of that, is really really important.
Mm. Um, and there in the whole EP as well. There's a lot of things that address my childhood,
Mm,
and I haven't exactly had a rough childhood. Like,
yeah.
I would never ever say I grew up in a rough background or anything like that. And if I said that, I would be lying, and it'd be really, really wrong of me.
Mm,
Um, but I did have a lot of it sucks to say, but I have, especially over the last 2 or 3 years, I've had a lot of grief, um, and a lot of things happened to me which have been pretty damaging, um, and I've began to come back from them, but it has taken a long time, um, and I can't. I really hate the fact that anyone my age goes through stuff, because these should be, well, anyone any age, but like when you are in your teenage years, they should be
mm,
the best years of your life, where you learn lessons but don't like get damaged, like we should all have things that haunt us to give us lessons, but we shouldn't have things that are damaging us, especially at this age. And it sucks that that actually happens to
mm,
people. Um, but I think just from my personal opinion, I just think it sucks that it happens to people my age, because like there are so many people having fun, and then they are just so restricted by their thoughts, and it affects them a lot because they're going through so much change and so
Mm.
much pressure as well, especially like today, and it's so hard to get away from it anymore. And I think it's a really tough thing for people to do, which is why last year I've been very like I've always been a very strong avid supporter of mental health charities and stuff like that, and I've always tried to do my bit and stuff like that. And last year, if you look back at my older Wes stuff on my page and stuff, you'll see my hair was a lot shorter. And
Mm.
it's because last summer I did shave my head for charity.
That's great.
Just kind of promoting the message of
Mm.
like everyone is just a blank canvas and they paint over it with their own originality.
Mm.
Um, and I think it's a really difficult thing that anyone of any age can get judged for anything that they do, because just because a mass amount of people enjoy doing one thing,
Mm.
why does everyone have to do it? Because surely if they were going to do it as well, that's taking the fun out of it for you, because
Mm.
because there's going to be more demand on something, because quite a lot of it is always money related, because everything is these days. Like, that's the problem really. But let's say everyone loved to play guitar.
Mm.
How difficult would that make it to buy a guitar, um, to become a musician in the music industry, and to class yourself as a good guitarist? Because there'd be so much competition,
Mm.
and no one would enjoy it anymore. And I think it's so wrong to like judge someone just because they do something slightly different to you,
Mm.
because it is just culture.
Yeah.
And culture, if you're not narrow-minded and you kind of are intrigued in all of it, you will think, oh, okay, well that's what they do. It's part of their culture. Um, so I think you'll agree with me that a musician's culture is, "Oh, I've got to get this right and it's got to be perfect." It's like a lot of musicians are pretty much perfectionists, and it's
Yeah.
like there's always like there's that one thing that's like, I'm not sure, but then there's going to be like an array of people around them saying it sounds great, and you'll be like, oh, I just don't think so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I know exactly what you're talking about. That I
And
liked, and as well, like on the subject, if everyone was a guitar player, I think that what people most enjoy are the things that make them unique. And I think if you take that away from people, all of a sudden they've got nothing to necessarily be happy about.
and I think the more we try and take away, and well, not in terms of like an actual you're going to take it away from me, but in terms of like a
Yeah.
judgmental way, the
Yeah.
more you are just kind of dehumanizing people.
Mm.
And it seems very like medieval as such. It seems very wrong to be kind of
Mm.
taking away something that makes someone then. And
Yeah.
I think we've come like as a national society and a global society. I think we've come a long way, especially in the Western world. And we've come a long way with judging people, and I think there's still a lot of teaching that is left out, whether that be colonial, or whether that be teaching people um, how to how it's right to judge people or not, and how to um, kind of mock people for their decisions over yours. Um, and I think that it is obviously it is improving, but I think just I think it's schools are the most important place to do that, because schools are where you can very much form unique and interesting people, but they do need to have like the base grounds of like, okay, you cannot do that because that is just downright mean.
Mm.
But then again, at the same time, it's like, well, we need these people who are going to be horrible, because we need someone to challenge. Oh, I don't know really what I was going to say something. I've completely lost it. We need people to kind of exercise our minds and stuff, and actually, some of the damaging stuff can actually make people who they are and lead on to the
Mm.
things they are. So it's like, what do you change, and will it affect things that much? Because if people weren't horrible to me in the past, I wouldn't have made the EP that I did. So at the same time as thinking that's not right, people should not be doing that, maybe it's human nature that it kind of has to happen.
It's an interesting way of looking at it there.
Yeah.
But I do definitely see, because we do talk about a lot of the sort of negative things that people do at school and everything like that. But sometimes without that, we wouldn't also recognize a lot of the good things that happen at the same time. I think in terms of what we focus on, I think a lot of people are really will always sort of gravitate towards the negative sides of things.
Yeah.
You know, you get those people that will just complain 100% of the time
Yeah.
and everything like that. And I think that is something that a lot of people could change. That I think that just make, you know, understanding that that happens, but always trying to see past that and look at what is positive and what is good can often help people who may be affected mentally at the time and that kind of thing. I mean, of course, it's super hard to do so if you are
Yeah.
in a difficult place mentally. But I think if everyone just on a daily basis just changed that mindset a little bit more, so they're looking a little bit more at the positives, I think it could make a big difference to not how people treat themselves, but people treat other people as well.
Yeah. I think definitely people are becoming way more critical these days. And that's good because it means that people will get feedback, and feedback is sometimes necessary, but I think at the same time people can be way too critical about the wrong things, and
Yeah.
it's not fair on the people that they're criticizing because they don't understand to the extent of their actions.
Yeah, I think people should be criticizing at the right times, you know.
Yeah.
Um, I think if anyone's thinking of criticizing something, should ask the question, was that their choice?
Yeah.
Because there's things that you know that you get criticized on when you're younger, that people make fun of you when you're younger, that you have no influence over, and
Yeah.
it creates a feeling of helplessness that
Yeah.
you can't get over.
And I think it's a really valid point, is actually that people, I said this, I think I was on a live stream. I believe it was when I was on a live stream of Kaleidoscope Band, who are a band up in Liverpool.
Oh,
I was
nice.
on it with a guy from there, and we were talking about the fact that actually you aren't with someone all the time, so you don't
Mm,
know what's going on with them all the time. So how can you even begin to kind of like audibly judge someone where people are going to hear what you're saying, and you're going to say it loud enough where people will recognize that, and you are going to say your opinion on something, but you don't know the whole story. And I think that's the problem, is that actually people can just, not only the people that get judged by the people who don't know the whole story, but the people who don't know the whole story then can be judged as well. And it goes on in an ongoing cycle of people, like with cancel culture these days and stuff like that. It's so difficult to say anything anymore because there's always something that someone doesn't know.
mm,
And then,
yeah.
like, you can say one thing and then suddenly that's it.
Mm,
Your credibility in your community is ruined. It could be nationally, globally, locally. It's a cruel world, and I think that's why I didn't really want to speak about the whole Black Lives Matter thing today.
mm,
I'm very nervous about the whole thing because actually there's so much coming out about it each day, so many people taking different standpoints, and I don't want to ruin relationships between my friends, my family, and just people around me, whether
mm,
that be in schools, in working environments, or anything like that, because my opinions aren't exactly extreme opinions. I wouldn't class them as extreme opinions. Um, and I think I pretty much agree with what the rest of everyone is saying. But to voice my opinion is a dangerous thing, because it's like, well, I can take charge of my opinion and say something about it and use my white status to try and make an opinion, or not, and kind of not take the risk of like being cancelled or anything like that. It's such a difficult conundrum to try and avoid.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. You know, the fear of what people are going to say when you voice your opinion is quite big, especially on topics like that. I think that was a big thing that I was thinking when we uploaded the first creative chats, was what people were going to think about um of the topics that we were talking about in that video.
Yeah. I think, yeah, because I watched that and it was very interesting to watch. And I think since your video, there's all sorts coming out as well. So it's always so hard to keep up with this stuff. So
Oh yeah.
it's like you could do about 5 hours of things like every single day with new stuff that's coming out. Because there's just so much to talk about, and it's like, well, how can you keep up with it anymore? And so like you try and keep up with it, but there's also a pandemic going on in the world, and there's just so much going on, and that's also the real sad thing, is that people kind of don't settle with what they've got. Like, there is so much going on in the world, and there's so many people we need to support. Like, Australia's still struggling from their wildfires earlier this year. Yemen's in a huge crisis, but so's the rest of the world. It's like, who do we help? You don't
Yeah.
help one person. Some people are complaining. You don't help those people. The other people are complaining. It's like you need to find some sort of priority in all of it, and it's
Yeah,
so hard to.
we do live in a pretty mad time at the moment.
Yeah,
It is crazy, but I think my hope is that once a lot of this is over, that hopefully, at least hopefully on maybe just a local scale. I mean, who knows what happens on country to country, but something we discussed in the last video a little bit is the idea that, when all of this is done, everyone's going to be hurt on equal terms, and then they're going to be looking to, everyone will be on the same playing field, so they'll all want to rebuild together. And that's my hope with, COVID-19, that after this, everyone, because even now, like, we're looking at, there's so much at risk. I mean, we, like, as musicians, we know the risk of even just one venue in, like, somewhere like Exeter or Plymouth or something, just one venue closing down has a humongous impact. And it's the same on so many different, especially in the creative industry at the moment, a lot of other places, and it's really difficult to kind of to support everyone. But I think, to understand that everyone is going to be going through a really hard time now. So to not try and push, not to try and not say that yours is more important, what you need fixing is more important than other people. Yeah,
I think it's, for musicians, it's like, well, I think we'll be like the back of the queue for everything, because we're not exactly the most sustainable income or anything like that, and it's a very chance sort of industry, really. And lots of the things that we can't do are very musically based, so you can't exactly sing, because the amount of like air that you spray out when you're singing, and like all of the air and saliva coming from your mouth is going to be it could be very contagious to people. And also, if you're in a crowd, you're not going to be in a 2 meter spread place, because who's got a venue big enough? So
imagine going to like a gig at Wembley and having like a 500 audience. Like, imagine
Yeah,
like
that it would
that.
it would be like that though, wouldn't it? Like people would just go in their groups of their households, or maybe are you still there?
Still here. Is it good?
Yeah, it's all
Is it
sorted now. Yeah,
okay? Okay, that's good. That's good.
yeah. So it would just be like you go with maybe another household or something. Like, actually, you still have to keep socially distanced, so you'd have to be within like a 1 meter radius of people. And imagine that, especially like a rock concert or something like that.
Everyone who does like everyone who just wants a mosh pit are gonna be very sad with the 2 meter
Yeah,
rules.
it's gonna be like don't mosh or wear like a full gas costume.
It scares me every single time.
Yeah.
Every time there's like a slight dropped frame, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh. Anyway, before we finish, you wanted to talk a little bit about your upcoming EP, 1st of August. Not too far away, actually. It feels weird, mainly because I think I've spent most of the last year inside, but it feels like this year has gone very
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah, I think the lockdown started to speed up the more the lockdown rules were eased. The more it
Mm.
was eased, the better like the quicker it went.
Oh, yeah.
So March and April were slow as.
Mm.
They felt like still time, but yeah, it started to speed up. But yeah, A Nebulous Vision, my new EP. A lot of people have asked me what nebulous means. So nebulous is basically like a word for unclear, but it
Okay.
links to like clouds and stuff. So it's like a cloudy sort of unclear. Um, which is kind of like how I felt making this was like because I felt very down. I was like, I don't know whether I'm going to be able to make this. I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish this. So it was a very unclear vision, basically. But the premise of it is focusing a lot on some of it is childhood feelings, some of it is just quite recent, um, but it explores quite a lot of um, the crossroads I've met in my early life, and just kind of focusing on like there's one song which is very focused on uh, a very raw thing which has stuck with me for quite a few years, and I think it will always be with me. But it's just how I deal with that and how I kind of do things to stop myself from thinking about it.
Yeah.
Um, and then there's songs about being let down, which is quite a common theme throughout, I guess, my teenage years. Really, was being let down by people, lied to, um, kind of manipulated. Um, and then there's just like sort of like things that are kind of based off the facts about how I just haven't really felt like living and stuff like that, and how I just kind of felt like shit. So
Mm.
one thing that was going on was Wes Chamberlain. The initials are WC, which also sounds like a water closet.
Yeah.
Um, and so I was like, okay, well, that doesn't really matter to me. I'm not exactly fussed by it. So I thought I'll take the mick out of that and make it into a song. And we're in a time where I was feeling like shit and didn't want to really be doing anything. And I was like, well,
Mm.
this is just kind of a lot of convenience here. So I was talking about one of my songs, which is called Pathetic Fallacy. And it's called how like the weather in the UK, well, just the weather was just really reflecting my mood at the time. Um, and at the same time, I just saw a lot of people who were kind of saying, like, making so many, like, they were just like talking about how they were depressed all the time, or they were like depressed for a day. And it's like, well, you're sad. Um, and I think the word depressed is very used very loosely, and it's very hard for someone like myself to kind of be okay with that because
Mm.
like they're using a word which means it's a big deal to me because I am depressed. And if they're using that word, then it kind of undermines how I feel, and it's because they're sad for a day because maybe they had an argument with their sister or something like that. So suddenly they're saying they're depressed because of it, and it's like, well, no, the emotion you're feeling is sad, but I would really appreciate it if you stopped using that word. But it's like also a thing was that I'm very nervous to speak to anyone about that sort of thing. So I just do it through music, and then it's like an inadvertently sort of thing where I'm just kind of not speaking to them specifically, and I can just get the emotion out through music, and then every time that I feel that emotion, I can play the song. And so it was just a mixture of the weather reflecting my mood, and then being frustrated with the fact that people are kind of using the word depressed very loosely. So one of the lines in the chorus says, when they say that they need your help, please help me, I'm the one that needs your help. It's kind of loosely saying, look, they say they need your help, but they may not do, and they just might just be grabbing at things because actually they're just kind of stealing stuff because they feel the need to have it, which doesn't have to be about getting help for mental health, but it's just people being greedy with things that they have in general. So it's that lyric's not about people kind of wanting help from like mental health people, like workers and stuff like that. It's more about just people having the greed to kind of make it so everything is about them and make it very just like an egotistical sort of like, I want this to be about me and I want people to be focusing on me. And it's like, well, if you want people to focus on you so much, why do you want them to see you depressed? Why wouldn't you want them to see you happy instead? It's like, well, what's the point? Because all you're doing then is you're gravitating people towards you to support you, and then they're going to be ignorant of the people who actually do need help. And I think there's another line in there which was, I can't adjust to this way of thinking, and I just simply cannot adjust to the fact that people think it's okay to loosely use words, whether it be I'm depressed or using like the N word or something like that, just loosely using words and thinking it's okay to kind of just say it and kind of not deal with the consequences. I just cannot adjust to that. That's something I just cannot. I just can't accept it.
Interesting, yeah. It sounds like quite a lot of thought has been put behind the CP.
Yeah, so it's kind of a lot of built up, not anger but frustration, and just like, look, I'm just done.
Yeah.
So it's basically me saying, I'm done. I'm fed up of people talking to me like this. I'm fed up of feeling down. Here's an EP.
That's one way to do it.
Yeah.
So overall, are you proud of what you've managed to achieve with this EP?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I'm not arrogant in the fact that I think I'm the best person in the world, but I do think that I'm pleasing myself. I'm happy with what I've done because I like it.
Yeah.
I'd listen to it. I think that it's good, but that's just because I made it, and I made it so that I would be pleased with it. I didn't make it for anyone else. It was for my personal enjoyment to make music that I like. And so I'm proud of it because I think that I've made something that is personal to me, but also sounds pretty good from my point of view. I think it sounds good, and I'm very proud of the fact that like I've been able to get a lot of emotions that have been built up for maybe even a decade out. And I think to do that has taken a lot of weight off my shoulders, and it's been like a nice closure thing because I'm moving on to go to college now, and it'll be a nice closure thing to kind of put those things behind me and start a new chapter in my life. And I think this EP has come at the right time for me to kind of step forward and kind of rise in where I want to go to.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Yeah, I mean, I know I find as a songwriter, you make that. It's always that really good transition where you go from writing a bunch of songs, you finish writing it, and then you never listen to it again because you're too embarrassed to. And then you
Yeah,
go to that transition where you write songs that you actually genuinely want to put on yourself because you're there just jamming out to your own songs because you really like it.
yeah,
And I find with a couple of my new songs, I've also made that transition as well. I think
yeah,
that is it's important for you because you know that if you yourself would listen to it on a daily basis, why wouldn't someone else listen to it on a daily basis and
yeah.
relate to it in the same way that you do? So
That's
definitely,
why I'm
if
terrified of like major labels and stuff like that, because it's like I could have a project and I could have demos for it. I could have been making it on my computer for hours and then take it to a huge major studio and stuff like that, and it could be changed into something that it doesn't feel like
mm,
personal. It doesn't feel personal, and I think that's why I'm very striving to kind of do it myself. And I had the help from Billy Tucker with the mixing, but I don't know if I will forever because I would really love to be able to have the mixing and mastering done by myself. As much as Billy did an amazing job, and I'm so
mm,
impressed with him for it, I would
big up
love to do
Billy.
it. Yeah, big up Billy Tucker, sound engineer.
Yeah, we've
Um,
both. That's interesting because we both worked with Billy. Now, how do you find working with him?
he's really easygoing, very willing to kind of do things that he may not think sounds good, but I just kind of had like an idea in my head, and I was like, "Could we try this?" Um, and as much as he may not have liked the outcome, I was personally very pleased with it.
Yeah, he's definitely easy to work with because he's someone that is he's definitely he can be really humble when he's working when you're working with him. Like when we did Left to Say, there was
Yeah,
a lot of things that were, you know, there were different disagreements and stuff like that, but there was never a moment where he wasn't willing to try ideas that you had, and
yeah,
he was always willing to sort of like if I suggested something that didn't work, then he would say I don't think this work, and the opposite was true, that if I suggested something that worked really well, then he was like, yeah, this is really good, we'll go for this instead.
yeah,
So I think, yeah, so I really enjoyed working with him, and I think as someone who does a lot of recording and producing, just working with someone else for a couple projects, you do learn quite a lot from that.
yeah. So yeah, kind of listening to what Billy was saying and stuff, and him telling me what he's added and stuff like that was really helpful to me, to just start to understand it and recognize what he's doing with my music. And
Mm,
I really appreciate the amount of work he put into it because he put in a lot of hours and he really smashed it, and I'm very impressed.
definitely, yeah. That's brilliant. So, any more comments on your EP that
Um,
you can think of?
well, I think the main one would be just there is a lot of there's a lot of like very touchy topics in the EP,
Mm,
um, and I've left it open for people to interpret for themselves. I've left it so that they can make it their own, and listen to the lyrics, relate it to something that they've gone through. Um, so please give it a listen and just take of it what you will, because it may not even apply to you. You may be able to relate it to someone else, but there's a lot. The EP is no song sounds the same on it. It goes through different waves of sort of different types of music. There's one song which sounds a little bit lo-fi,
mm,
slow, and very synthy. But there's also songs which are very guitar-y, like I Didn't Laugh. There's a lot of guitar in that. Um, but then there's songs that barely have any guitar at all, like Pathetic Fallacy. It's more of a 80s dance track. It's very euphorhythmics. But then you've got stuff like Retrospection, which sounds very, from my point of view, it sounds very Mac DeMarco. But like, there's just, I didn't want to have everything sound the same. I wanted to explore different things to the different songs. I wanted the song to sound right to the lyrics. I wanted to make it sound right to how I was feeling. And I think that I'd really appreciate it if people just took from it what they will. Tell me exactly what you think of it as well, when you listen to it. And also feel free to message me if you want to buy a CD, because there are still a fair few to sell.
Nice, brilliant. How's the CD sales going at the moment?
Yeah, pretty good. I've managed to raise £100 so far. So I've bought the CDs and they should be coming in the next few weeks, basically.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's really, really cool. So Wes Chamberlain and his new EP. Can you remind me the title of it again?
A Nebulous Vision.
Nebulous Vision. A
Yeah.
Nebulous Vision.
Yeah.
Awesome. Very, very cool. Very cool indeed. And that's out August the 1st.
Yeah.
August the 1st. Nice. Cool. So is there anything else you want to talk about?
There's just a few things that I think it's really important that we address
Okay.
in terms of like groups that are feeling very lonely.
Yeah.
And I think they won't. Lots of them probably may not see this because of their age, but older people struggle normally, and I think a huge thing is that they are struggling so much right now because a lot of them are in a vulnerable category, according to the NHS, and 1 in 3 elderly people are lonely anyway, and now it's pretty much 1 in 1.
Yeah.
Whether that be a couple or not. And I think it's just so important that whatever age you are, whatever you've got going on, send your grandparents a text. Go see them. Just like have a good chat with them, and just make sure that they feel like they're not on their own, because I think it's really important. For some people, obviously, that's not going to be as easy as possible because they may live further away. They may not be easy to get to. But I think everyone needs to look out for each other now, and I think that's something that we all need to do. Is we're all on level ground now.
Absolutely.
We're all at the bottom. We've began another recession, which is pretty shit, really. And we're all having to fight through this together. And I think it's so important that we just look out for everyone right now. I think for me as well, I think I would definitely say that we need to look out for the people that actually we don't like as well. Acquaintances, enemies. We need to look out for them, because actually the people who are you may be against, they're going to be going through it too. And at the end of the day, we are all human, and we all have to help each other. Help yourselves first, obviously. Make sure that you put yourself first, because you don't want to put yourself in a vulnerable position, and consider your options as well, because if you are putting money towards other people and then you don't have enough money for yourself, then they've just got your money and they'll be helping themselves. They won't have enough money to support you. So where does that leave you? So make sure you help yourself first and consider the options that you can to help others, because there are plenty of ways, and just stay safe.
Absolutely. Absolutely, indeed. I think that's a brilliant way to a brilliant thing to finish on, I would say.
Yeah. I'm just important message that I think this is probably one of the best places to do it as well, because it's a chatting sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's where we kind of discuss topics which could be quite deep and meaningful, and I think it's very important to end with something like that.
Yeah, it's always good to look on, because there's always positives. No matter how dark it gets, there's always something to look out. And I think during this time, as you say, when we are heading into a recession, there's still a pandemic on the horizon. Well, more than on the horizon, it's everywhere. But
Yeah.
it's important to see where there can be an upwards out of all of this.
Yeah. I think it will definitely change people's attitude towards things. I think people will become more caring, I feel. Well, I hope anyway. I really
Yeah.
do hope, because let's be fair, before this whole pandemic, there's a lot of vile things going on in the world anyway. People were making jokes about the Australia wildfires and people were dying. Like the amount of vicious and cruel things that people said about Brexit and stuff. And as much as people do not want Brexit and stuff like that, it's a thing that's happening, and we just kind of have to get on with it. And to be mocking the people who are doing it, who are trying to work their hardest to, like, even if you do not agree with them, they are trying their hardest to get it done. And now they've had to deal with a pandemic as well. And I think we have to give them the respect that actually they are working their socks off to get this sorted for us, and they want our economy to be better. They want our country to improve, and they wouldn't be in government if they didn't believe that they could.
Okay, you're still there.
Yeah. I think it's just we all need to just I'm sure that the majority of us will, but I think it's a case of looking out for each other now. And no matter your weight, your height, your race, your sexual orientation, your gender identity, anything that makes you an individual doesn't matter. We are all on level ground now, everyone. So we all have to rebuild together. That means supporting one another and making sure that we all stay safe and we remain a community as a country.
Absolutely. I don't think I've got anything more to add to that, really.
Yeah.
Nicely summed up.
Yeah.
Brilliant stuff. So anyway, yeah. Wes Chamberlain, if you like what you heard, please go and support him on Instagram. You got Facebook? Or is it mainly
Facebook,
Instagram? Yeah. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube.
There is some YouTube videos, yeah. So
YouTube videos.
If you want to follow me on YouTube, it's just Wes Chamberlain. If you go to my Instagram, I believe it's also on my Facebook. There's a link tree to all of my links. That includes smart links for the releases, my YouTube, my Twitter, my Facebook, Instagram. I think that's all of them, yeah. And my website as well, which I do
and
need
your
to update.
website.
Need to update
that. Very exciting. Nice.
Yeah.
And 1st of August is the EP out, which is very exciting.
Yeah.
Very exciting indeed.
Yeah.
Sounds like there's a lot of hard work gotten into that. So yeah. I'm sure I'm certainly looking forward to hearing it when it comes out.
Thank you very much, man.
You're welcome. Yeah. So thanks for coming on, Wes.
You're very welcome.
Yeah. Who do you reckon should be on the show next? You got any suggestions?
I'll tell you what. Somebody who I've seen posting a lot about, if you want to talk about Black Lives Matter anymore, somebody who would be great to speak to would be Molly Bethan, because she's been posting about it quite a lot. So she'll be a great person to speak to. I think Pick would also be really good in terms of, because she is she comes from a very broad standpoint, as she's trying to help loads of people do lots of different things right now. So she'll have a view of loads of people who are doing different things in the music industry and photography industry and videography industries. And I think she'd be a great person to speak to. Also someone like Max Tyler, he would be great, because he is he is just an individual through and through. And he is very interesting in his music and the way he does it. So I think he'll have a really interesting standpoint on what he's doing in this, because he's been very active on social media within this lockdown, which has been really interesting to watch.
Oh, really cool. Thanks for the suggestions.
Very welcome.
Yeah. So again, if you want to, it should all be linked in the bottom of this video. But check out Wes Chamberlain, and my ask to that. Keep an eye out for anything related to that. Absolutely. Thank you so much, and thanks to everyone who's been watching. Because I feel like this is going to be another quite long video. So even with the technical difficulties throughout, I think this is our fourth attempt.
Yeah, it is now. Yeah, fourth attempt. Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to get better Wi-Fi. Anyway, thanks, Wes, and we'll see you all very soon.
Bye.
See you later. Go check out Wes Richmond's new song. It's definitely worth a listen.
Wes Chamberlain.
Did I say? I'm gonna cut that out. I said Wes Richmond. Oh, there's so many Weses.
Yeah.
I swear there's so many Weses.
It was so funny though, because I went into the Mama Pick Music Family group chat and I saw another one. I was like, oh, didn't expect that at all.
Oh, I see.
Luckily though, the first name is spelt different. His is spelt with a Z and mine is spelt with an S.
S. Fine differences, but they make a big difference.
Yeah.
Where's
Chamberlain?
Chamberlain. Sorry, my mom.
Hello?
Hello? You there?
It lagged out for a second, yeah. I'm here.
Okay, that's